When we think about Jesus, we often focus on his love, his miracles, and the sacrifice he made on the cross. Those are the aspects of him that stand out the most. But there's something else, something deeper he revealed. Something that's not as easy to swallow. It's a truth that in many ways can feel like a punch in the gut, and yet it's a truth that has the potential to completely change the way we relate to God. This dark truth, if you will, isn't what you usually hear preached in the feel-good sermons. It's not the kind of thing that fills churches with applause. It's not something we want to face, but it's something we need to understand, because only then can we truly grasp the depth of God's love for us. At the heart of this truth is something we often shy away from. It's the fact that our nature, our human condition, is far darker than we like to admit. It's uncomfortable to look at, but Jesus didn't shy away from it. He made it clear that the problem with humanity runs deeper than our action. It's about our hearts, our innermost being. He didn't just come to heal broken bodies or fix bad behavior. He came to address something even more fundamental. Jesus didn't come to just give us a moral compass or a new set of rules. No, he came to expose the real issue. He showed us that sin isn't just about what we do, but about who we are. It's in our very nature. We tend to downplay it, right? We tell ourselves we're not that bad, but when you really stop and think about it, we're not just dealing with a few bad choices. We're dealing with a root problem that runs so deep we can't solve it on our own. Well, now this might sound a bit bleak. It's like, if you're being honest with yourself, it's a hard truth to swallow. But here's the thing. Until we can recognize that deep brokenness, we'll never fully understand the grace God has for us. We won't appreciate how amazing his mercy really is until we realize just how much we need it. Jesus wanted us to see this, to face it, because when we do, that's when the light of his grace shines brightest. See, the world tells us we can fix ourselves. It's all about self-help, right? But Jesus comes along and says, no, you can't fix yourself. And that's where the real transformation begins. When we stop pretending, stop trying to be self-sufficient, and admit that we need him, when we get real about our brokenness, that's when everything changes. The power in this dark truth is that it frees us from the illusion of perfection. We don't have to live under the pressure of pretending that we've got it all together. In fact, it's in our brokenness that we come to experience God in a way we never could if we were pretending to be perfect. Jesus' message isn't one of condemnation. It's not, you're broken, so get out of here. No, it's, you're broken, and I'm here to heal you. When we really understand this, our relationship with God shifts. It's no longer about trying to earn favor or climb the spiritual ladder. It's about accepting that we can never measure up on our own, but that his love covers all our failures. That is the beauty of the gospel. It's in the recognition of our flaws that we come to see his mercy. Well, the more we understand this truth, the deeper we can experience God's holiness. Holiness isn't just about moral purity, it's about being so entirely separate from sin that it's impossible for us to bridge that gap on our own. In light of God's holiness, our sin isn't just a small problem to solve, it's a massive chasm. It's something that separates us from his perfection. But, and this is the beautiful part, Jesus didn't leave us there. He came to bridge that gap. He didn't just show us how broken we are and then walk away. He gave his life to make a way for us to be reconciled with God. That's the hope in the dark truth. It doesn't end with despair, it ends with redemption. When we embrace this dark truth, it doesn't leave us wallowing in guilt, it leads us to freedom. It's a paradox, right? We have to face our brokenness to truly experience the grace and power of God. We come to understand that our brokenness isn't something to hide, it's something to bring to him. And when we bring it to him, that's where the transformation happens. This is the starting point for a radically new way of seeing God. Instead of approaching him with pride, thinking we can earn our way into his favor, we come to him humbly, acknowledging we have nothing to offer but our broken hearts. And that's when God's love and grace meet us in the deepest, most intimate way. The next part of this truth is where things get even more profound. It's not just about recognizing our brokenness. It's about how that brokenness can actually draw us closer to God, and how it changes everything in our lives. But for now, we have to sit with this first part, because without understanding the depth of our need, we won't be ready to fully appreciate the power of what Jesus has done for us. So now we've faced it, the uncomfortable reality of who we are without God. That dark truth Jesus revealed, that we are broken, that sin lives at the core of our nature, isn't meant to shame us, it's meant to wake us up. But here's the thing, once we're awake, once we've seen it, what do we do with it? That's where most people get stuck. Because if we stop at the darkness, if we stop at guilt, we'll feel trapped, ashamed, hopeless. But Jesus never left people in that place. He didn't expose the darkness just to leave us there. He always pointed us to something greater, something higher, something full of hope. Jesus showed us the weight of our sin, yes, but he also showed us the depth of God's grace. And when you put those two things side by side, your need and his mercy, that's when transformation starts to take root. Jesus used parables a lot, not to confuse people, but to invite them into deeper reflection. One of the most powerful was the story of the Pharisee and the tax collector praying in the temple. The Pharisee was full of pride, thanking God he wasn't like other sinners. But the tax collector, he stood far off, wouldn't even lift his head. He beat his chest and said, "God, have mercy on me, a sinner." And Jesus said it was the tax collector who went home justified before God, not the religious man. Why? Because he was honest. He wasn't hiding behind spiritual performance. He wasn't pretending to be clean. He came as he was broken, desperate, and aware of it. And that's the kind of heart God responds to. See, once you've embraced that dark truth about yourself, that you're not enough on your own, you start to see that you don't have to be. That's where the freedom begins. That's where grace becomes more than just a church word. It becomes personal. We're not saved because we're good. We're saved because God is good. And that changes everything about how we approach him. No more hiding. No more striving. No more trying to earn love that's already been given freely. Instead of running from God in fear, we start walking toward him in trust. We stop trying to impress him, and we start trusting him. Because he already sees the worst parts of us, and he still chose the cross, still chose to love us, still chose to redeem us. That kind of love changes people. It melts pride, it softens hearts, it breaks chains. Suddenly, obedience isn't about checking boxes, it's about gratitude. We don't avoid sin out of fear of punishment, we turn from it because we don't want to hurt the one who rescued us. This is when faith shifts from religion to relationship. Not a cold system of rules, but a living connection with a holy God who knows your name and still calls you beloved. Jesus didn't come to make bad people good. He came to bring dead people to life. But to bring someone to life, you have to start by admitting they were dead. That's what he was doing when he revealed that dark truth. Not tearing us down, preparing us for resurrection. And that resurrection, it doesn't start when you die. It starts now, in the way you see God, in the way you see yourself, in the way you treat others. It starts the moment you say, "I can't do this on my own," and let him take the lead. This is where real relationship with God is formed, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, in the quiet places where no one's watching. When it's just you and God, and you finally drop the mask, that's where intimacy grows. That's where change happens. Jesus knew we'd fall short. He knew we'd mess up again and again. And still, he said, "Follow me." Not fix yourself first, but come just as you are. And when you follow him, not just believe in him, but actually walk with him, that's when your heart starts to change. Your thoughts shift. Your desires shift. You begin to love what he loves. You begin to care about people in a new way. And slowly, that dark truth that once felt so heavy becomes a doorway to something beautiful, something holy, something eternal. Because when you've been loved at your worst, you start to love others differently. You forgive quicker, you show mercy easier. You give grace even when it's not deserved. Why? Because you remember what Jesus did for you when you didn't deserve it. You remember the cross. You remember mercy, and you live from it. So yes, Jesus revealed a dark truth, but it wasn't to shame us, it was to free us. And it wasn't the end of the story, it was the beginning. the beginning of a new identity, a new relationship, a new way of living. In part 3, we'll go even deeper into how this truth changes not just your faith, but your purpose, your daily life, your calling. Because once you've been transformed by grace, you're never the same. Once you've truly faced the darkness inside yourself, once you've accepted that you're not enough and that Jesus is, something begins to shift. It's not just an emotional experience or a passing moment of inspiration. It's deeper than that. It's the beginning of a transformed identity. See, the gospel doesn't just forgive your past, it rewrites your present and your future. You're no longer defined by your sin, you're defined by His grace. You're not just someone who was rescued, you're someone who belongs to Him now, a child, a friend, a disciple, and that changes the way you live. You start to realize your value was never in how perfect you could be. Your worth was never based on how much you could achieve or how spiritual you could appear. Your value was settled at the cross. That's where Jesus said, "You're worth dying for." Not because you earned it, but because He chose to love you that much. And when that truth settles in your soul, everything else starts to realign. You stop chasing approval from people, from culture, even from religion. You stop performing. You stop carrying the weight of being enough. Because you know now you never were and you don't have to be. Jesus is enough. And that's all that matters. Your relationship with God stops feeling like a test and starts to feel like a home. That's the power of the dark truth Jesus revealed. It hurts at first, it's humbling. It cuts through pride, through denial, through the lies we tell ourselves. But once it's done its work, once it's torn down the false foundations we were standing on, it invites us to rebuild, this time on something real. And what's real is grace. What's real is love. What's real is the God who sees it all and still says, "I want you." Now here's where it gets even more beautiful. This transformation, it doesn't just change how you see yourself. It changes how you see everyone else too. Because if you're loved in your mess, you can start to love others in theirs. You stop seeing people as problems to fix and start seeing them as souls to care for. You stop judging, stop comparing, stop competing, because the grace that rescued you, you want that same grace for everyone. You start forgiving people who don't deserve it. You start serving people who can't repay you. You start listening more, arguing less. Because the darkness that once kept you far from God, it doesn't control you anymore. And if He brought you out of it, He can bring anyone out of it. That's what it means to live changed. It's not about being perfect. It's about being surrendered. Every day, waking up and saying, "God, I still need you." Every day, remembering that the old self died with Christ and a new one has risen. You don't follow Jesus just because you want heaven someday. You follow Him because He is life. And the more you walk with Him, the more alive you feel. And yes, there will still be struggles. The same old temptations. The same weakness trying to creep back in. But now, you're not fighting alone. Now you've got grace as your strength. Now you know where to run when you fall. And the amazing part? God doesn't get tired of lifting you back up. He's not rolling His eyes in disappointment. He's not keeping score. His mercy is new every morning, and His love is constant. That's why this dark truth isn't something to fear. It's something to face. Because once you do, you come face to face with the very heart of God. Not a distant judge, but a loving Father, a Savior, a friend. And when that becomes real to you, when it moves from your head to your heart, you start to live differently. You start to walk differently, not out of pressure, but out of peace. Not trying to earn God's love, but living from it. Your past, covered. Your shame, erased. Your guilt, carried by Jesus so you don't have to. That's what He offered when He revealed the truth about us. He didn't expose the darkness to humiliate us. He did it so He could heal. And the only thing He asks is that we don't pretend anymore. That we stop running, stop hiding, stop clinging to things that can't save us. He's not after your performance. He's after your heart. He wants the real you, the broken you, the doubting you, the tired you, the anxious, insecure, messed up version of you that you've tried to clean up for everyone else. That's the version he died for. That's the version he loved. So let the dark truth lead you to something brighter than you ever imagined. Let it draw you near instead of pushing you away. Let it break down the walls so grace can flood in. Because grace doesn't ignore your darkness, it overcomes it. And once you've experienced that kind of love, you'll never go back to empty religion again. You'll never settle for surface-level faith. You'll want the real thing, you'll crave it, and more than that, you'll share it. That's how revival starts. Not with hype, not with noise, but with honesty. With people who are willing to say, I'm not enough, but Jesus is. People who stop pretending and start trusting. That's where relationship with God becomes real. That's where peace replaces performance. That's where shame is silenced. And that's where transformation begins. So yes, Jesus revealed a dark truth. But it wasn't just to show us who we are, it was to show us who he is. The Savior who walks into our darkness and brings light. The Redeemer who steps into our mess and brings purpose. The God who sees our worst and still gives his best. And that truth, that changes everything. There's a reason the message of Jesus makes people stop and think, because it's not just comforting, it's confronting. Yes, he spoke about love, healing, and hope, but he also revealed something most of us would rather avoid, the truth about ourselves, what's really going on inside. He didn't come just to improve your behavior. He came to go straight to the root. He didn't just point out what you do wrong. He revealed what's in you, not just surface-level flaws, but a brokenness deep in the heart. And that's the part that stings, because it forces us to stop pretending. Most people want to believe they're good deep down, just occasionally off track. But Jesus made it clear. The problem is far deeper than we think. Sin isn't just what we do, it's part of who we are without him. He wasn't attacking us. He was telling the truth no one else would say. Because real love doesn't flatter, it tells the truth even when it hurts. Why? And that truth, it shows us that we're not enough on our own. No matter how hard we try, we can't clean ourselves up. No matter how many good things we do, we still fall short. Blah. He wasn't impressed by people who looked holy on the outside, but were full of pride and hidden sin on the inside. He saw through the show and spoke to the heart, to the real issue, the part no one else sees. And yet he didn't say this to shame us. He said it to free us. Because unless we admit we're broken, we'll never reach for healing. Unless we know we're lost, we'll never cry out to be found. Why? That's why he said the sick need a doctor, not the healthy. He wasn't pushing people away, he was inviting them closer. But only if they were willing to come as they really are. Not cleaned up, not perfect, not pretending. Well, the proud walked away, but the humble were lifted up. Because when you bring your mess into the light, that's when grace starts to work. You don't have to fix yourself first. You just have to stop hiding. Now, he showed us that no one is beyond hope. But first, we have to admit our need. The truth is, our efforts can't save us. Our goodness isn't enough. And that's okay. Because he never asked us to be enough. He came to be enough for us. This is why that dark truth matters. It breaks our pride, but it opens the door to real freedom. It's the moment we stop looking to ourselves and start looking to him. The moment we stop performing and start trusting ever. Because once you realize how far you've fallen, you begin to understand how far his grace reaches. He didn't reveal our brokenness to leave us there. He did it so we would finally turn to the one who can heal us. And when we do, that's when the journey truly begins. The moment you stop pretending, the moment you admit you're not enough, that's when something powerful begins to happen. Because that dark truth, the one that exposes your brokenness, it doesn't leave you stuck. It opens the door to grace. Not cheap grace, not surface-level kindness, but deep, soul-restoring grace. The kind of grace that doesn't ignore your sin, but completely covers it. The kind of grace that doesn't say, you're fine as you are, but says, I see all of it, and I still want you. And when that kind of love hits your heart, it changes you. You stop trying to earn approval because you realize you already have it. You stop trying to impress God Because you finally believe he's not waiting to be impressed. He's waiting for you to be honest. You stop performing and you start receiving. This is what transforms a person from the inside out. Not fear, not guilt, not pressure, but love. The kind of love that looks at you at your lowest and says, I'm not leaving. And suddenly, God isn't just someone you pray to when life falls apart. He becomes someone you walk with every single day. That's when faith becomes real. Not just religion, not just church attendance, not just a list of rules, but relationship. Where you talk to God like you talk to a friend, where you bring him the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you stop hiding. Because now you know who you are. Not just a sinner, not just a failure, but someone who's been rescued, someone who's been forgiven, someone who's loved by name. That's what grace does. It gives you a new identity, a new lens, a new heart. And it doesn't stop with you. That grace you've received, it starts flowing through you. You start seeing people differently. You stop judging and start understanding. You stop pointing fingers and start reaching out. Because you remember where you were and how far he brought you. So you forgive more quickly. You love more freely. You show mercy because you've lived mercy. And that changes your relationships with friends, with family, even with people who hurt you. You realize you're no longer reacting from your wounds. You're living from your healing. That's what grace does. It doesn't just patch things up. It makes all things new. Not overnight, not without struggle, but deeply, truly. And the best part, God doesn't get tired of walking with you. Even when you fall, even when you forget, even when you mess up again. His mercy resets every morning. His love doesn't back down. His presence doesn't leave. And now your relationship with him isn't built on fear. It's built on trust. You trust his heart. You trust his plan. You trust that even when life doesn't make sense, he's still good. And that's when real peace comes. Not the kind the world gives. The kind that holds you when everything else is falling apart. So yes, that dark truth was necessary. It had to be faced, but it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a new relationship, a new identity, a new life, rooted in grace. And once you've tasted that, you never want to go back to the shallow version of faith again.